keeping the barbarians from the gate.
I got into the labor movement not because I wanted to negotiate wages. I got into the labor movement because I saw it as a vehicle to do massive social change to improve the lots of people.
Let's take these son of a out and give America back to America where we belong. Thank you very much. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, the Tea Party can go straight to hell.
And we're back. I'm Trucker Randy with Doug Sedenquist substituting for Brian Summerfield, and we are your defending fathers. Hey, Doug, reached out to State Representative Tom McMillin, who's on the line with us. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning, Randy. Doug.
How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Tom. Good morning.
Good, doing well.
Hey, wanted to have you on the show here for about 14 minutes to talk about California passed the nullification of the NDAA law, as we all know, the National Defense Authorization Act. And the part of their bill actually was cloned, I heard, after your bill.
Well, yeah, I mean, it passed out of the Public Safety Committee, AB 351, and during the debate in the committee, the chief sponsor, Assemblyman Donnelly, specifically cited our work in Michigan, that both chambers have passed in one form or another, the same thing that he's wanting to do. So, it just kind of goes to show that we don't know how these things are used. We just keep pushing for freedom, and, hopefully the momentum, it looks like, is moving across the nation.
Now, the bill here in Michigan, I know, like you said, it's passed the Senate one time, the House the other time. Where exactly is it at here in Michigan in the process?
Yeah, so Senator Jones passed what's called a double blueback. So when I ordered my bill, I ordered a second one that I could give to a senator, and he said, yeah, he'd like to run it just so that they could have the hearing and so it wouldn't be something new when my bill came over to the Senate. So he had his hearing. It passed out of committee or out of the Senate. So the Senate's already vetted the bill. My 4138 House bill came out of committee, out of my oversight committee, and so it is now before the House. I'm hoping to get it passed this week, and once it gets over the Senate, it won't take a lot of... I don't even know if they'll have to have a hearing because they just vetted the exact same bill. So hopefully, I'm working with the governor's office. I think we're pretty much there, getting them comfortable with it. And,
Tom,
we the only... Yeah.
Is that the same bill that passed the House unanimously last session?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
And you're working with the governor's office. Do you feel that they're getting comfortable enough that, quote unquote, it'll be on his agenda?
Well, standing up to the feds like this, we'd only be the second state. I think one state in the West, Montana, or somebody sitting on the governor's desk over there, but we'd be the only second state next to Virginia that has actually passed and had it signed into law. So, for our governor, I think he wants to make sure he's comfortable. I think we're almost there. We're talking to some sheriffs to figure out how they'd work through determining whether something was constitutional that the feds were asking. But since Senator Jones is a former sheriff on the west side of the state, it was pretty clear that, this should be pretty much a slam dunk. And, of course, all we're doing is standing up for due process for our citizens and folks that live in Michigan.
Right. Now, one of the things, ironically, we're having two meetings up here in northern Michigan on Monday night. The Sheboygan Republican Party is hosting their sheriff in Sheboygan, who's going to actually give a talk on the constitutional role of sheriffs. And I'm holding our Antrim County Republican meeting. Sheriff Dan Bean is going to be joining Senator Howard Walker, and we're going to be talking to him about what his thoughts are on the Second Amendment and whether or not, Washington passes this gun regulation law that they're working on right now. They brought it to cloture yesterday in the Senate. But what's your thoughts if they do try to pass something like that? And would your bill then, would it basically nullify, or is that just part of the NDAA and doesn't apply to these gun laws at all?
Right. My bill is NDAA. And, you know, Randy and Doug, I mean, if you look back 5 or 10 years ago, if you and I were talking about standing up to the feds like we are now, you know, they would have accused us of having tinfoil on our heads. But it's exciting to see that, and it would have been the wrong accusation, obviously, but, you know, the country, because of the Tea Party movement and folks like yourselves and others, have really moved the understanding of the electorate to really start accepting the idea of standing up to the feds. So I was excited when the Senate passed their version of standing up to the feds on Second Amendment, and you know, I hope that it has quick action in the House. My NDAA would just deal with indefinite detention, but here again, standing up to the feds, and you know, if we can get our governor to sign something like this, I think it's an exciting momentum. We're not going to. You know, we're taking back our country, you know, one vote at a time. On NDAA, it passed the Senate unanimously. It passed the House, you know, Senator Jones's bill. So, I mean, you know, this is both. This is a bipartisan, and it's, you know, fighting for freedom.
Right. So, specifically, does your bill nullify sections 1021, 1022, or the whole bill itself?
No, it would just be 1021 and 1022. I mean, and it specifically says that everything else, if it's not you know, if there's nothing, they're not taking away our rights. You know, that's the National Defense Authorization Act that authorizes all the other military stuff, and we don't have the ability, I don't think, to deal with, you know, whether we should send troops to some country or not. So,
right.
We're
I just wanted to clarify
about,
for people.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's strictly as that, and it just says, it says that our citizens and our sheriffs and National Guard will not assist in any way the feds in taking away due process.
And detaining American citizens.
Yeah, indefinitely detaining folks that live in Michigan.
Well, another thing that I think needs to be stand up to the feds is this thing regarding education. And I know you know a lot about this issue as well. Common Core? What is Common Core?
Well, Common Core is sold by the people who are supporters that it's something that's voluntary, that states got together. And it's true that initially states got together to some degree with the National Governors Association and started working on some curriculum. But then Obama said, hey, you know, this is a great way to get national curriculum that without violating the law, because it's illegal to have national curriculum. So he started requiring it in anybody that wanted money from No Child or Race to the Top. Any state that wants a waiver from No Child Left Behind. That's one of the things they try and get into the waiver. And it's, you know, it's really a private organization that has 46 states that have said we want to implement this Common Core. It's an entity that will, you know, it's copyrighted, so you can't change it. We had a hearing on my bill that's trying to get us out of Common Core, and it was very clear that A, the State Board of Education doesn't know much about it, even though they got us into it, and B, the Michigan Department of Education also didn't seem to know what it was about. Because I said, look, if we don't like a standard, I mean, if it gets into global warming or, you know, if the math standard we don't like or we don't think it's rigorous enough, can we get out of it? What do we do if we don't like a standard? And the State Board of Education, Eileen Weiser, said, you know, I don't know. I don't know what we'd do at that point. So,
and when they tie that federal money to it, it's kind of a backdoor around the law, isn't it?
Well, you know, that's the thing is that they really it's the waiver from No Child Left Behind, which some states have gotten the waiver without putting it into the requirement for Common Core. So, you know, there are 4 states that don't have it. There's 10 states or so that are fighting it and pushing back. You know, so I mean, it's a movement to try and say we want to take back local control, because it really is turning over the control of your curriculum to a national entity that has no Open Meetings Act. You know, if we don't like something part of the curriculum, we have to go to some private entity and beg them to change something, which just isn't going to happen. So it's a big deal, and I'm really getting some good traction in stopping this. I could really use the help of your listeners to call their state representative and try and get some pushback on Common Core.
Well, where are we at in the process? Real quick, let me ask you before Doug gets his question. Where are we at in the process of getting the law passed or changed or whatever?
Yeah, it's I had a hearing on my bill, and I'm just making sure that I can give you the name or the number of that. It's Common Core.
While you're looking up that, I just wanted to mention this at our last Delta County Republican meeting, we had State Rep Ed McBroom and Senator Tom Casperson address our group, and Ed McBroom is absolutely on board with this bill of yours, and he shared with us a little bit about the State Board of Education and the actual chair of that board saying some unbelievably rude things to him. I don't recall exactly what he or she said, but Ed is a former educator, and she basically said he was like an idiot. I think he told us.
Yeah, Ed is one of the co-sponsors on my bill to get us out of Common Core. He's a real champion for this cause, and he just he's trying to change some of the curriculum for vocational education up there or in the state. And he had a bill. He was eloquent this week before the Education Committee to try and get some changes to that to allow more local control. And I pointed out to him and the others, Patalia and other state representatives, that with Common Core we don't have this debate. You can't change the curriculum. At the state level. So it's good that we're having this debate, but after 2015, when it's fully implemented, this debate ends up, we send a group of people to some private group in Washington and beg them to change, and the other 46 states will say no.
Right. So, what's your bill number, Tom?
It's 4276. Okay.
That's
to get us out. Yep.
Is in committee, or have we got out of committee on it?
It's in the Education Committee still. We had a hearing and brought in people from all around the nation, actually, as experts, people who were actually on the curriculum writing or verifying for Common Core, and have pulled out of it and said it's horrible. So it's it's in there, and we could also do something in the budget that's going through to try and say, no, you're not going to spend any money on Common Core. So I'm kind of working on that as well.
Good deal. Do you have a senator yet to champion it in the Senate?
No, I've gotten some interest from senators, but I don't have one to be a champion, no.
Okay. Very good. Well, listen, we greatly appreciate you calling in. I'm going to make a YouTube video of this segment and post it on Facebook all over, because these two topics, are very important to a lot of our listening audience. They need to learn more about Common Core, but we'll get the discussion going for you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for calling in, Tom.
Okay. Bye-bye.
We are going to take a short break. I'm Trucker Randy. He's Doug Sedenquist in for Brian Summerfield, and we are your defending fathers.
Mark your calendars now to attend the Presque County Republican Lincoln Day Dinner, Friday, April 19th at the Bismarck Township Hall in Hawks. This year's Presque County Republican Lincoln Day Dinner will be a big event that you need to attend. Come April 19th to meet State Representative Peter Battaglia, State Senator John Mullinar, State Senator Howard Walker, and many more. Book your tickets now before they're sold out. Send check or money order to Barb Durfringer at 14946 Royalston Road in Hillman, or call Jen Kuznicki for more information, 989-351-3940.